In the name of Allah, the most merciful and beneficent, today I have prepared a lecture on the realism in the novel Tom Jones, written by Henry Fielding. This novel is written in easy and free manner with moral and psychological theme. All the details are very significant. We can say that Fielding touches all the sphere of life. We can find many different class people and their activities. We can say that Tom Jones is the reflection of middle class society. I hope you will like this video. Never forget to subscribe it, please. Press like button, give your kind comments as well. Once you have gone through this video, please like it, subscribe it, share it, and press bell icon so that you can receive a notification for any new video. Thank you. Now, coming to the topic, realism. First heading is Father of Realistic Novel. Fielding is the father of realistic novel in English. Now, why is Henry Fielding called father of English novel, although there is a criticism on it and people may not agree with it? There are different viewpoints, but one thing remains there, and it is a fact that Henry Fielding is the father of realistic novel in English. Realism aims at presenting a truthful impression of visible aspects as well as mental processes of human society. What is the purpose of realism? Realism presents the visible aspects and mental processes of the human society. A realist always draws his material from the real world around him. He never presents what is fake, what is imaginary only. He depicts only what he sees with his own eyes. He keeps away his own idealistic or normative judgments. What is normative? Normative is which belongs to norms, traditions. So, a realist always keeps himself away from the norms, the traditions, and the philosophical interpretations, though an observant reader might very well notice the intentions of the writer in the work. Now, in the first paragraph, we have come to know that Fielding is the father of realistic novel in English because he probes into human nature. He probes into the minds of the people of his contemporary society and then presents what it is. Henry Fielding was the pioneer of realistic fiction. He began to write against the prevailing sentimentalism of the age. Sentimentalism of the age. Before him, the writers did write novels. They worked on fiction, but it was all imaginative. It was all sentimental. It was away from reality. But he began to write against the conventional way of writing. His characters, his situations, his incidents are all taken from life. He presents lifelike characters before us. He has taken his characters from the real life, from the society in which he himself was living. His personages are lifelike men of flesh and blood. They were the lively human beings, our own kinsmen. We can feel affiliation with them because such type of people are moving. Once we go through this novel, we realize that such people are living, they are existing, they are moving with us in our society. They are real people. His people walk and talk, work and act like us. We feel our reflection in the novel. They live and travel in realistic situation. His plots are made on principles of plausibility and possibility. Plausibility, acceptability, one can accept his plots. They are real. They present real life situation before us. So, his plots are made on the principles of plausibility and possibility. The life depicted in his novels is a real life. His novels truly reflect the contemporary social life of England. In the words of Walter Allen, his work was the most powerful artistic expression of that social conscience of the age. Now see, according to Walter Allen, his work was the artistic expression. He was a real artist who painted the true picture of the society. Social conscious of the age. There is a free expression of social conscious of the age. In his own words, everything is copied from the book of nature, and scarce a character or action produced which I have not taken from my own observations and experience. Henry Fielding himself says that I have taken everything from nature. No character is imaginative character. No situation is imaginative situation. Characters are real, situations are real. He says that I have taken all these characters, situations from my own observations, from my own experience. By living in the same society, experiencing the ways and means of the people, watching their ways of life, and then I have depicted them in my book, Tom Jones. Second topic is Tom Jones as authentic social document. Tom Jones can be read as an authentic social document. The novel is virtually the mirror of social morality, the condition of the landed gentry and the corrupt upper strata of life. Now, why is this called the social document? Because it depicts the society. It mirrors the social morality, condition of the landed gentry and the corrupt upper strata of life. The life of the town, the countryside and the metropolis has been drawn in a graphic manner in the novel. In the words of Kazamian, town manners, the pleasures and amusements of the capital, country society organized around the square, and where the vicar occupies for a time a singular, less dignified place. Stage coaches, ins and incidents of the road, the underworld of vice and crime, have here left traces sufficiently accurate in themselves to be of use to the historians. Now, he says that vicar here means, vicar is the priest, a rector, a minister of the religious house, etc. He says that vicar occupies for the time a singular, less dignified place. Stagecoaches, inns, incidents on the roads, underworld-wise crimes have left traces sufficiently accurate in themselves to be of use to the historian. He says that if any historian wants to write the history of 18th century society, he may very well read the novel Tom Jones and he can have a clear picture of the society. In fact, a truthful social document can be made from Fielding's Tom Jones. The novel presents a panoramic view of all contemporary society as a whole. The various details of several incidents can be verified from contemporary social records. Mrs. Calderwood's description of the roads of England in her journal, written in 1756, recalls the same description in Fielding's novels. Now, Fielding novel Tom Jones is a realistic picture of 18th century society. That's why any historian, or Mrs. Calderwood, she had written the description of the roads of England and she finds the details in the Fielding's novels. The social conditions, poverty, illiteracy, squalor of the countryside. Squalor is filthiness, dirty countryside, follies and frivolities of city life, the growing materialism of the commercial class, the country squires, the gypsies, the innkeepers, the highwaymen, the stage coaches, etc. Everything is portrayed with a great sincerity. So, no one can question the authenticity of the novel Tom Jones. Every minute detail of the social life of 18th century society is given in this novel. The characters are real, the situations are real, every detail of the condition of the city, countryside, everything is given with its minute detail. Realism, Fielding as an artist. Fielding is not a mere historian. He is an artist. And as an artist, he acts as a critic of the society. In fact, he caught the soul of his generation. The realism of Fielding is not a mere reportage. He does not only present its report on the society, it is intensely imbued with the sense of art. He is an artist. He has presented artistic description of the novel, of the society and the characters. It seems with form and selection. There is an inevitable play of imagination, not that high rocketing flights to the heights of impossibilities. He never goes to the heights of impossibilities. Not to the to the extent of impossibilities, but he gives the real picture, authentic picture, for coloring the narrative. So his novel is never very rough, boring and very strict and rigid sort of novel, there is a humor in it. There is light-heartedness in the novel that the readers enjoy reading it. Fusion of romantic and realistic. Fielding colors his realistic description with an alloy of romantic fancy. He has a plausible interpretation of life, plausible, acceptable. He fuses the romantic and the realistic. That's why it makes the novel charming for the readers, because of the fusion of romantic and realistic. In Tom Jones, we find a number of pictures which are portrayed with a view to highlighting some sort of ugliness of society. Now, with light-heartedness, he presented the ugliness of society. Fielding at times hold to ridicule the vanity and affectation of the so-called fashionable people. Affectation means artificiality, show off. It is pretension of the so-called fashionable people. He recommends virtue and goodness of heart. By depicting civil in all its ugliness, he only pleads the importance of goodness in life. It is this type of realism that is found in Tom Jones. Otherwise, this reality would have been very boring, bitter, rough, rigid, and monotonous. But presenting the reality, true picture, or criticizing the hypocrisy of the people belonging to different classes of the society, he at the same time made this novel very interesting to read instead of making it rigid and monotonous. So, this is because of the fusion of romantic and realistic. As well as Fielding is really called an artist. With his artistic skill, he has made this novel attractive and impressive for the readers. Psychological realism. Another aspect which is most noticeable about his realism is that it is psychological, and as such it comes to achieve a tremendous depth. Now, Fielding knows the minds of the people. Fielding knows their thinking. Fielding knows their true nature. He knows their inner self, that they are playing double character, double role. What they seem, they are not from inside. Their appearance is quite different from their inner self. So, he says that it is quite penetrating. His realism is penetrating. In the knowledge of human heart, Fielding remains unsurpassed. He has the knack of probing deep into the facts of life, and in his effort, he is not balked by any formidable dogmas. He is not balked means he is not threatened. He cannot be defeated by any formidable dogmas, forbidden beliefs, formidable, forbidden, dogmas, beliefs. He can never be threatened, he can never be controlled, he can never be defeated by any formidable, dogmas. With the help of comedy, with such instruments as humor, satire, and irony, Fielding exposes falsehood and unreality and enters the caves of realism. With the help of humor, satire, and irony, He makes people laugh on the incidents, on different situations by creating humor. But with the instrument of humor, satire, and irony, in fact, he exposes the reality. With the help of his comedy, he lifts the veil above the artificialities and affectations of life. He exposes, he unveils the artificialities. वो ज़माने की जो आर्टिफिशियलिटीज़ हैं, जो लोगों ने अपनाई हुई हैं, उनको हटा देता है, अनवेल, उनसे पर्दा उठाता है. उनके जो प्रिटेंशंस हैं, उनके जो दिखावे हैं, उनसे पर्दा उठाता है, which find expression in the form of hypocrisy and vanity, which is nothing less than hypocrisy, which is nothing less than vanity, that is show off. वो कहता है कि इससे बड़ी मुनाफकत और क्या होगी कि आपने अपने ऊपर लबादा ओढ़ा हुआ है, आप अंदर से हिपोक्रीट हैं, आप अंदर से शो ऑफ करने वाले हैं, आपका जाहिर और बातन एक दूसरे से मुख्तलिफ है. इससे बड़ी मुनाफकत और क्या होगी? Isn't it immoral on the part of the man? Fielding's comedy is his judgment upon the men and things of his time and upon himself. Fielding thus strives after the psychological realism. He knows the true nature of man. That's why his realism is called psychological realism, which is more profound. Profound means which is more deep than the realism of concrete details. It often contrasts the rigidity of our illusions with the unforeseen change, fullness of life. Rigidity of our illusions. It contrasts it with the unforeseen change, fullness of life, with complete reality of life. That life is something else. The reality is something else. Realism. The scope of Fielding realism is extensive. What he says is that the scope of Fielding's realism is quite extensive. He not only observes closely and maintains realistically the geography of England, the manners and materials, the men and women of England, but also includes within his sphere sex. Now see, he includes physical relationship and moral transgressions in the case of physical relationship, to the extent of moral transgressions. He has touched every aspect of man's life. He has never hidden their reality. He describes sex with gusto to complete the picture of contemporary life. With gusto, gusto means with enjoyment, with enthusiasm. He relishes this sexual relationship among the people, and with more than one person. So it shows. Now see, what is more true than to depict such type of picture of the 18th century society? In the words of Dudden, his aim in these novels was to present a strictly veracious picture. Veracious means true picture of the real human world, which he had to diligently observed and studied. It means that he has very carefully observed the ways of the people living in the 18th century. He had studied them carefully and closely. Only then he can expose their reality in the novel Tom Jones. That was the primary thing. He had no use for fanciful idealizations. He never went for fanciful idealization. He never presents idealistic world. He did not desire to describe fine world as it ought to be. Idealistic world, that is, before him, all the writers had presented the utopian world, But he was against presenting idealistic or utopian world or the world of his dreams. He was quite different from his previous writers, from his predecessors. He did not desire to describe fine world as it ought to be or as he would have liked to be. He wished to describe it simply as it was. In other words, his endeavor was to reproduce human nature as closely and accurately as he was able. Nor did he consciously allow himself to tamper with the material which nature supplied, to tamper with the material to meddle with, to interfere with the material which nature supplied. He never interfered it, but presented it as it was. Thus, he did not attempt, like the Victorians, to gloss over, to hide it, what was hideous and disgusting. He never hid what was hideous and disgusting. Nor did he, as Hogarth was inclined to do, omit what was delightful and beautiful from his picture. He did not heighten the lights and deepen the shadows. He just drew what he saw. He never exaggerated the details. Heighten the lights means he never exaggerated the details. He never hidden the realities. Deepen the shadows. He never hid the realities. He just drew simply what he saw and the whole of what he saw with perfect honesty and candor. Truth to nature was his watchword. Truth to nature. Slogan. It was his watchword. Truth to nature was his slogan. Now, his realism unites the most common desires of the new society. In his introduction to Joseph Andrews, Fielding says, "I believe I might aver that I have written little more than I have seen." He says that I might aver, I might declare, I might claim that I have written little more than I have seen, and it is true. Fielding's realism is not laborious and minute, but it is sufficient. He does not, like Defoe, protest too much. It does not mean that by bringing into light the true picture of the society, the ugliness of the society, the hypocrisy of the society, he is not protesting. He does not seem to protest too much against the prevailing situation. For his object is to create an illusion of reality. He says that it is an illusion of reality and not a belief in fact. The quote Harold Child, if by a realist is meant an artist consciously determined to express life exactly as he sees it, then Fielding was one. But if a realist is one to whom all the facts of life and character, all aims and emotions are equal value, Fielding cannot be called by that name. So, Fielding's realism unites the most common desires of the new society in England, the taste for the concrete, the need to see it without illusion in order not to feel any surprise or disappointment when acting upon it and cooperating with it, the resolution not to sacrifice the several elements of the human being one to another, and to know at times how to feel a soft emotion when it is useful that the soul should be softened. The need to see it without illusion in order not to feel any surprise or disappointment when acting upon it and cooperating with it. The resolution not to sacrifice the several elements of human beings one to another. So, he says that the taste for the concrete, everything clear. There is nothing hidden. Everything is visible, everything is clear, because they are taken from the real life situation. Thus, Fielding's realism concerns not merely the bare fact, but also that idea. In his delineation of reality, he exercises that power of mind which he called invention. Now see, Fielding has totally been diverted from the conventional morality of his predecessors or the writings before him. He never depended on them. He never followed that moral convention in his novel. He created something from his own. He created something new. He invented something new. That's why it is called an invention. Tom Jones, his writings are inventions. Baker therefore called his realism intellectual realism, because he had produced something new, something and something novel, something new, some new invention. That is why he is called father of English novel and father of realistic English novel, because it is for the first time realistic picture of the society was presented before the readers. Now, my dear viewers, you see, when we first meet Tom Jones, he is a foundling, a new kind of hero, a common man, the unheroic hero, born to be hanged, helpful, with goodness of his heart. Theme of social realism, that is lifestyle of the people, robbers on highways, people living in London, the wealth and splendor of the English countryside, the habit of eating and drinking, good deal of vanity and affection, malice and intrigue, destroying its peace. Women find difficulties to travel along these lonely roads in the nights. That is the picture of the wretched condition of the society of that time. The people are silly and lustful. The world of combat, Squire Weston is challenged by Lord Falmer's messenger, and Tom has duel with Mr. Fitzpatrick. The public school education at that time in the 18th century seems to be unsatisfactory for Squire Allworthy, and he decides to arrange private tutors for Tom and Blifil. Doctors have had insufficient knowledge about medicine. Judges were corrupt in their judgment. Then the portrayal of an English woman is presented here. woman's chastity is the one of the most important theme. Then politics, the situation of England is reflected. In book 7, Tom gets attached to the soldiers. In book 11, Sophia and Harriet are staying at inn. The landlords feel that they both want to go to London because they want to escape from the army. Then there is society versus religion. Molly Seagram's attempt to going to church symbolically presents the followers of church who were not real followers of Christ, in fact. So these are the characters, their reality, the situation in which they were living, their reactions to the different situations, all are presented realistically in the novel Tom Jones. I hope this is clear to you with every minute detail of realism in the novel. I hope you have liked the video. I request you all to press like button. Kindly share your comments if you have liked this video, if it is useful for you. Share it with others and subscribe it if you have not subscribed before. Thank you for watching this video.